Hi, my name is Jason and I'm passionate about cannabis. Come with me as I journey through New Zealand and speak to other Kiwis who share my love of Mary Jane. Along the way, I hope to educate both myself and anyone who is open to learning about this amazing plant. This evening, I sat down with Christopher Coker, who is representing the Aotearoa Legalise Cannabis Party in the current Tauranga by-election. FYI, I got far too high before talking, but we had fun and I hope you learned something new. This is Guided by Mary.
Are these all your books?
Yes, I don't know all my books. I've got 300 more books.
Did you say?
No,
Swing back and forth. You say 300 books?
well, including all my normal magazines, my High Times magazines, my Cannabis Culture magazines, my Treat Yourself magazines, and my Weed World magazines.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've got over 300 for sure, including encyclopedias, the set that you've got, the Bible. I got the same Bible. I had the first one in the big form, and I'd swapped it in for my mate, and he's like, gave me back that little set, and I was like, oh, okay. Fair enough.
When did you get your first book?
What's that?
When did you get your first cannabis book?
I would have got my first cannabis book when I moved to Auckland and I went to the hemp store. They just had free normal magazines, and it was just like Bob Marley music and people smoking cannabis, and yeah, and it was just like advertising it, and it was kind of like an underground kind of thing because it was seemingly deemed illegal in the culture where I came from. So having to go into a shop and check out, and it was a free magazine as well, so that was also pretty cool. So I could grab one or two for my friends. It was a new secret find that I had.
So you're the dude with the cool
with
books
the
now.
info. Secret info, yeah, like the Black Book of Secrets.
So how old were you?
I would have been in my 20s, maybe 21, when I moved to Auckland. So I came from Hawke's Bay originally. My first, let's say, musical introduction to cannabis was from Bob Marley music. I hung around with a fair amount of Rastafarians. So yeah, the music of our choice was reggae music, and it was socially accepted by us or seen by their elders or our elders that they were consuming cannabis medicines or cannabis, pleasurable recreational cannabis.
So like families all together, mum, dads, smoking's open, smoking's...
Aunties, uncles, elderly, I would assume would be grandparents, and yeah, so it was just that seemed normal when I was coming up in that circle of people.
So your family as well, your parents?
Not my parents, no. My parents were more New Zealandified. I don't know, roast on Sunday, fish and chips Friday, beersies on the barbecue.
So they drank?
Wine and beersies, but not heavy drinkers at all.
What do they think about cannabis then? Did they have an opinion? Or?
No opinion at the earlier stages in my life. I did get in a small amount of trouble when my next door neighbour had a cannabis plant. And I thought, oh wow, check me out, I've found that leaf. I'm going to take it into the guys and ask them if it's the plant. And so I took in a leaf and...
You just ripped the leaf off the plant?
Yeah, I took a leaf off the next neighbour's plant. Yeah, I thought that was, just...
Sure.
Don't do that these days, protection of plants and whatnot. Tell my daughters not to pick flowers. If you love a plant, you'll leave it there. If you like a plant, you'll pick the flower. If you love the plant, you'll leave the flower there. But yeah, so I picked the leaf off. I took several leaves off, put them in my school bag, passed them around the class to a few friends saying, is this that Bob Marley leaf? And yes, it is. Have you got the flowers? Because apparently you couldn't smoke the leaf, and
So
I'd taken the wrong piece. Apparently there needed to be a flower on the top of it. And
did you know that when you took it?
no, I had no idea. I was only at 15. I think I was like 15 years of age, and the next door neighbour had one in their back garden. So I saw it and jumped across the fence as you do when you're a little 15-year-old, and took the plant into school, and heavy repercussions when the teacher found on the inside of the book an actual cannabis leaf. And then it was, Christopher, to the dean's office. And then my father had to come in, and it was a little bit serious when we had to speak with the principal. And it was actually a second generation principal. So it was actually my father's principal when my father went to the same school. So it was even more embarrassing for me to be getting disciplined. It was almost like, come on, sir, we thought we had trained you well, and now your son's in here getting reprimanded. It's like, apologise, Dad. So,
do you have to dob the neighbour in and say where you got it from?
No, it was just more of a light, he found it in the next door neighbour's back garden, and could have blown in with the wind. It was nothing. The priest, you'll know that religion and the priests have that priest confidentiality. So I think he just took that on the chin and said, "Please, dear Lord."
It's so funny. So you got two sides. You got your friends that you're hanging out with, super into it, smoking it, right?
Oh no, just their elders. So at that young age, it was just that their older family members and their parents were doing it.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so you've seen that. Then
Yes.
you've got your parents in the school telling you this is...
Demonized and it's bad and then... But the contradiction on that, I soon realized, being raised religious, was that on one hand I had my religious teacher telling me that dinosaurs were just there to test our faith, and then we had our science teacher telling us that dinosaurs came from 100 million years ago, and the priest might just have a different theory on the book that he reads from. Yeah. And so at a very young age, my mind was very alerted to different, like we get disciplined by our parents, our mother and our father might have different theories. You know, you can ask mum, mum said I could do it, dad said no, and then it's like conflicting interests from the mother and father. Yeah. But then seeing it from my elders or my teachers, my guides, who I was supposed to respect and understand their knowledge being handed down to, they had compromised knowledge, and been experiencing that at a vulnerable age of 15, I found I was a little bit like hurt, and because I was always the, I would say, mischievous, entertaining type of character when I was a child. You know, very childish. We laugh now, but looking back on it, when you've got discipline coming from your elders that don't like that, you know, spoken out of turn. Children should be seen and not heard. Yeah. You know, it's good upbringing. You should have disciplined children so that the police don't need to discipline them with tasers and now possibly firearms if the government, this current government, head down that path. So if we discipline our children with love and understanding and guidance, then, you know, we don't need children's licenses. You can legitimately just go out there and create more chaos by perpetuating the chaos and through miseducation.
Well, that's one of people's biggest fear, though, when they talk about legalization of cannabis, is what about the children? Like, you hear it all the time from people that are not for it.
Statistically, I don't know the number of car crashes we have in this country, but children aren't in car crashes driving the car. The keys are normally on the table, on the car keychain. Sure. We might have 1 or 2 or 5 a year we see in the newspaper, car driven by teenager, stopped by police. No harm, no foul. That child obviously gets disciplined at home, at school, everybody, you know, what's wrong with you? Why did you think that this was necessary? And we discipline the child through an understanding of what's going through this child's mind. Maybe he just wants to be a go-kart racer. So we introduce him to the local go-kart racing club, and there he goes. I have no problems discussing cannabis with children. I think that the endocannabinoid system that both children and adults have, that has been left out of the scriptures of the doctors, needs to be talked about. So that's what I'm here for. And cannabis needs to be controlled by the adults, just like alcohol. So I heard of a young boy from a school in Auckland, 15 years of age, drunk some of his granddad's 40 ounce of, I believe, vodka and died. I believe any child that would smoke an ounce of the appearance ganja would probably fall asleep after the 3rd cannabis cigarette. And so weighing these things up, I'm not trying to tell people they shouldn't smoke alcohol, and people shouldn't tell me that I shouldn't consume cannabis.
I mean, it's not an uncommon story for a young person to pass away through alcohol poisoning. It's wild, but it's so normalized. Like, you can end up in hospital, throwing your guts out, almost die of it, and there's no guilt or shame about it. It's just like,
it's an acceptable thing.
Yeah, totally.
In our society, it seems that I've had the greatest weekend of my life if I've got an empty bank account and can't actually remember what I've done.
I know, and you're applauded for it, and you're cool, and it's like
that was epic. Yeah. I can't even remember what happened. Oh yeah, I lost my keys. Yeah, woo!
How about when you're 21 and you do like a yarnie or whatever? It's just like, it's absurd, and it's like, yeah, bro, you made it. Yeah, it's a crazy thing to do. So your parents never had to discipline you after that for cannabis? Did you start smoking? When did you start smoking?
I got shocked on that one, so I didn't touch the marijuana from Bob Marley, and no, I didn't. It wasn't demonized, but I definitely knew I didn't want to kick in a conversation from my father I didn't want to get.
So when did you smoke then the first time? Or...
When I made it up to Auckland, I was introduced, so depending on what circles you live in. So there's bush weed. Cannabis is sometimes known as weed, and it just grows wild, and it's disrespected as a plant material, and it kind of just looks like weeds. Yeah. And then when I got to Auckland, I found more of a culture of connoisseurs of cannabis, where they had selected varieties of flavored cannabises. And then I was like, these are like my mum's menthol cigarettes. So my mother had always smoked cigarettes from ever since I was born. I don't smoke cigarettes myself, never have smoked tobacco cigarettes. I've only ever smoked cannabis cigarettes. So I found no difference other than mine's now a known medicine, and I took it for probably, I would say, a misguided childhood. And I found cannabis to alleviate the thoughts in my mind, eased my sleeping, and I guess I took it up heavily after my snowboarding accident.
Okay.
So when I was in my early 20s, I suffered from a herniated disc, and I have sciatic nerve in my left leg. Chronic pain just comes and goes and tingles and tickles and aches and it's numb and gets annoying. And so so if I'm consuming medicinal cannabis, the inflammation around my disc softens and my leg pain or the awareness of the tingling sensation is just not there. So
you discovered that yourself?
Yes, yeah. Just through smoking the ganja at parties and then going, oh, actually, like, you know.
Had you heard that it was like used in a medicinal way?
Not at all. I just like the flavour.
Yeah.
No, I just like the flavour, the fact that it was kind of like my mother's menthol cigarettes, and because that was her pour more menthol cigarettes, branded, not, you know.
Yeah.
So then when did, like, because there's lots of people that use cannabis, but they're not doing what you're doing at the moment. When did that kind of shift happen for you, or you started developing this passion, this real wanting to change the law, wanting to spread the word, wanting to educate people?
Okay, I've always had a horticulturalist background. I've lived on orchards and I've done propagation of plants, grafting thousands of trees, thinning, pruning, picking. I was a drug dealer from a very young age, possibly 8 or 9. I recall selling apples at the front garden for $1 a bag. Me and my cousin were in the local paper. You know, a proud moment for our family to have the drug dealers at the front gate pimping off their apples.
What do you mean you're saying drug dealers? Like,
oh, well, everybody knows let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food.
Right.
Yeah, so the Ministry of Health take medicine control bills and acts about medicines quite seriously. Yet if we take it back a few hundred years to when people thought other than the way their governments thought and they had freedom of thought, you could contemplate that it would be an easy you are what you eat, and let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, and an apple a day keeps the doctor away. And we've got all these sayings that are common knowledge and common, you know, it's a verbal thing that we speak to amongst ourselves, but nobody consciously thinks about it to, you know, it's McDonald's, it's drive-throughs, it's fast food, and that's all pressurized by the system that we're currently in, the 9 to 5, work hard, get ahead, get things that are nice, get newer things that are nicer, perpetuating that just continuation. So I'm driving for sustainability, and my introduction to cannabis was an early transfer over from cultivating all plants.
did you grow? Have you grown?
I started cultivating cannabis myself after my accident. I found it hard to get the cannabis that would help with my pain.
Yeah.
So I was made aware that there's multiple cannabis strains through magazines that come from Amsterdam and America and Canada. High Times magazine, Cannabis Culture, Weed World, Normal magazine, printed here in New Zealand. And so there was it had a description of it, and it would have what it would do for you, euphoria or ease with insomnia, ease with pain relief. So I sourced out a few of my networks, cultivars, which is now known as chemovars, the right one to fix my ailment.
And you got the seeds here locally? You didn't have to import them?
I didn't import the seeds. The seeds had already been imported over from Amsterdam that I'm aware of. And yeah, it was like my friends, uncles' friends, you know, our elders. Yeah. But they were secretive, you know. They've still remained secretive throughout this whole referendum. There seems to be a whole lot of, you know, not much support or vocalization of cannabis experiences. So that's why I'm here still again. My passion for my experience of pain relief and mental anxiety relief, and just being able to be a functioning pothead, as it's known in our circle, instead of being a stoner, a waster. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've only been smoking like 3-4 years, and it's not what I thought it was. That's why I want to speak to you and kind of be a conduit for people to get the message out, because Yeah, because like 3 or 4 years ago, if I had to walk past and smell someone smoking a joint, my reaction would have been, ooh, a little bit negative or dark or something bad happening. You know, I don't care, and I have smoked in the past, but never really understood what it was. But now if I smoke that, I think we're the most friendliest, probably like nicest people that I'm going to meet. And it's totally different. And the stereotype of being lazy and all that kind of stuff is not at all true. And it doesn't have anything to do with cannabis. You know, if you're a lazy person, maybe it will make you lazier. But some of the hardest working people I know smoke cannabis. A lot, myself included. So yeah, it's totally different to what I thought it would be. So when did you start the activism? Or not activism?
Well,
Have you worked with cannabis before? Like, in any sense, or?
Cultivating homegrown cannabis for myself, and then telling my friends that I knew a guy that could get cannabis, and then having to become the distributor of medicines, and not allowing my friends to be compromised by them knowing that I could have possibly been the guy. So I never made any profit from my cannabis. I just had access to it, and it was just able to be circulated back into the cannabis and then gifted back out to the people that needed, like myself, that couldn't afford cannabis and couldn't find it.
And it's such a beautiful feeling to be able to do that to people that need it medicinally but can't get it from anywhere else. And maybe we can speak about that a little bit, but maybe first, like, so what are you doing at the moment with the ALCP? Like, how did you get involved with that? And like, what are you currently campaigning for?
Okay. A friend of mine, Maki Herbert, who is the co-leader of Aotearoa Legalise Cannabis Party.
And one of the other co-leaders in the house right at the moment.
She rang me up one evening, asked me what I was doing, and I was like, just running a hemp farm, doing God's work.
So you're working on a hemp farm?
Oh, I currently owned my own hemp farm at that stage. In 2017, I had my own hemp farm. And Maki thought that she'd use that to the team's advantage and see if I'd want to stand in because the up and coming referendum and the awareness that was needed. The Aotearoa Legalise Cannabis Party, Maki Herbert invited me to the team. I said, so how do I become a politician? What's this? What do you mean? And she's like, well, I will elect you, and then I'll get somebody to second you. We'll have a discussion about who you are, what you've done, where you've been, and why we think you'd be a strong member.
Cool.
And then if they agree, we'll all in favour, all against, and pay you money and you're in. And I was like, well, fair enough, I guess. Let's put it to the test.
Cool.
Ask me to play bat, I'll jump up, throw me the bat, let's play. So I took it, and here I am.
Cool. And so what's the party standing for in this election? What are you campaigning on, and what would you like to see?
Well, clearly the legalisation of cannabis in Aotearoa for all four: medicinal, spiritual, recreational, and industrial. I think there is 4 big industries that just need to be exploded.
Well, okay, so like currently we have medicinal, right?
Well, there's some form of medicinal. So in Aotearoa, as of the 1st of April 2020, they made it accessible by prescription from your doctor only. Previous to that, it was try all their chemical drugs first. All of the known pharmaceutical drugs have to not have worked. Then you're allowed to apply for, through your specialist only, access to certain select pharmaceutical grade cannabises. They've loosened that off. Now you no longer need your specialist. You can go one-on-one straight to your GP if you feel like bringing in some books like Cannabis Extracts and Medicine, Hemp Foods Oil for Health, the Cannabis Pharmacy. There's books all available. You just have to type in cannabis books for sale in New Zealand. I'm sure you'll find some. Read those yourself. Take that in as proof of evidence to your doctor, because most doctors haven't been educated about cannabis.
They just don't know, or there is no education for them?
There hasn't been an education for them up to this stage. Ever since we have been protesting for the endocannabinoid system to be released into the system, we've just been coming up against a wall. And we're just still breaking it down. We're going to break the wall down. We're at it, we're on top of it, we're smothering it, but we just have to tear it down while we're smothering it. So here we are with the facts. We've got books. This is now an accepted thing. And
we've had this for a long time. Like, there's knowledge. Like,
yes.
It's not new, right?
No. Unfortunately, the leaders, our governments, the people that need to be convinced need to have scriptures written in our own language to decide whether or not it's good for our people. So we're currently running through research and development
Yeah.
We've got over 15,000 researchers biting at the chomps for products to be made and researched and developed. But the government's current legislations is holding that back.
They recently gave 13 million to one company.
One company alone in the South Island got a lovely grant that all of the other, I believe, 26 medicinal cannabis company license holders would have loved a $500,000 push to write some form of entrance way into the medicinal cannabis scheme. It seems a little bit by and by in our circle that we all think that it's a little bit backhanded.
I mean, it's awesome for the company if they got it.
Amazing for the industry, like don't get me wrong.
Yeah, the government's giving a cannabis company...
All citizens in the country rejoice.
Sure.
It's normal now. The government has given your money to cannabis farmers. So thank you government, hand out that money.
Thank you government, but like with what you've done so far, it's an odd decision.
Yes.
And they keep seeking to make odd decision one after the other. It's almost like whoever's in there, they just don't quite understand what cannabis is.
Yes.
Yeah, is that what it is? Or there's just other people that are just trying to put you, can you theorize or say you don't want to go there?
I can't point at the other guys saying that they don't want me to talk about it. All I can do is talk about it. So I don't use my airtime or my audio bites to go negative because otherwise we'd be in the ring.
Fair enough.
So okay, so maybe we can speak about it a little bit more. What does a legalized market look like for the Aotearoa Legalise Cannabis Party? What would you like to see?
I would like to see options. I'd like to see glass straws, curvy glass, fancy crystal, options. I want to see a market that's available and usable for all of the people in the industry, from the farmer to the retailer to the new inventor that's going to blow glassware and consumable products for the recreational market.
Some cool artists out there.
There's some amazing...
Really cool. Anonymous Glass, there's a couple of them out there, really cool.
And it's just freeing up a series of industries, as I mentioned. The recreational market, if and when it finally gets here. Certainly the medicinal market. We need people like myself going out there and teaching people. People like yourself making sure that people like myself are heard.
Sure.
And we've got the industrial market. We can have this made out of hemp products. So we want to start setting up the industry for cannabis farmers to start being productive with their crops instead of just burning it and putting it back in and not utilizing the entire plant. And then we've got the spiritual side. So we've got this up and coming worldwide plant-based medicines, spiritual meditation, and having the ability to connect through plant medicines. And so New Zealand's a little bit behind on that. You only have to go onto any of the PubMed journals and look in plant-based medicines. There's papers after papers after papers of research there for us to look at, but it's still hidden in the green closet. And I'm here, I've come out of the green closet as a medical patient and a prescribed medical cannabis user. Now, thankfully, my mum can say, yes, my son has been prescribed cannabis. He's no longer a dope head or a waster or a loser or a stoner or anything else.
Like
the stigma's finally lifted.
Yeah,
that's finally lifted. And it's been a long, 25-year journey for myself to have to run through.
It's wild, when you think, like, I'm sure a lot of people thought it wouldn't take this long.
No, I've been in circles that have been activists and advocates for so long that it's just ridiculous. And that's where it hurts. And that's where I feel the THC molecule and the psychosis might come in hand in hand, where you're thinking and and you're in an echo chamber of friends all agreeing, cannabis is good. Yeah, you can agree. Yeah, you can agree. Oh, cannabis is good. Yeah, look, here's no object. And so we're in this echo chamber and we're all like happy about it. But as soon as we go outside of our echo chamber, they look at us and judge us, and then the stigma comes back, and then we get the paranoid of like, maybe I am bad, maybe I am not bad, maybe am I making the right decisions? Like, why am I judged as a waster?
I didn't have that thought at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it just feels right. I don't know, I'm so happy. Like, it just makes me a better person.
Yeah.
Makes me be nicer, helps with my work with editing films. I love listening to music and eating food and talking to people and working out on it. I just discovered that the other day. For me, it doesn't feel bad at all. So yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
When people are judging you in society saying these things and you can make it, but I don't understand them.
Okay.
I think they're just like, I just don't get why you would not want someone to feel like that.
Yeah. Okay. So
And you know, and then there's all the other things, the medicinal values of it, textiles, everything else you're saying. Sorry.
So they have now research papers to prove that it makes you more empathetic.
Do you see that?
When you consume cannabis medicines, you have that, hey, this guy's just like me.
Yeah.
Do you like water? I also drink water. We're the same.
What's wrong with that? More empathetic.
Parents.
Yeah.
I have parents. You have struggles. I have struggles.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, he has struggles. Oh, well, I better stay clear of that guy because, you know, we all have struggles. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. You know, we have this knowledge, yet it goes beside the side, and it's all for one and one for me, and I'm just out to get my own, and it's do unto yourself as you've done unto others, and it's just stab, stab, backy stab, and it's just seems
Cannabis doesn't make anyone do that.
Sometimes it does. So there is a small portion, like back to the psychosis.
Oh no, yeah. So that's right. So cannabis isn't for everybody.
Cannabis is not for everybody.
No, definitely not. There's a lot of people. There are people out there probably shouldn't smoke cannabis. Just like with everything, there's some people that shouldn't drink because it just doesn't sit right with them. You know, there are some people.
So as I was saying before, with the new papers around medicinal cannabis, people are researching it all around the world. And we're getting papers coming out every week, every day. Yeah. They've proven that small chance, 1/3 of the people activate the THC molecule positively, 1/3 of the population activate the THC molecule negatively, or it has no effect, and the other third allegedly has some form of psychosis.
A third?
Allegedly.
Okay.
So...
some form of psychosis.
And it's not, and it's not, you smoke, you get psychosis.
No.
It's, are you feeling safe? Do you feel like people are watching you?
Yeah, the paranoia.
Yeah. And so I've known for a long time cannabis is an amplifier. So if you're in a good situation, mood and setting. If you're with friends, you're loving it. If you're being watched by a car that keeps driving past.
Totally.
You're going to get that little bit more alertness. So cannabis is a good hunting tool.
But when you're smoking and you know it's illegal,
because you're alert,
and you could,
you
know, that adds to that.
You're alert. You're alert.
Yeah.
You're conscious of your brain's going. So they've got molecules after molecules in the cannabis plant. Your human body makes 70 cannabinoids. The plant makes 170. Known so far. So you have the ability to interact with the cannabis molecule in such a way that it amplifies your already God-given gifts to regulate your entire body. You breathe, you don't breathe. You blink, you don't blink. Yeah. You get fat, you don't get fat. You go to sleep, you don't go to sleep. So it regulates nearly every single system in your entire body.
That's why when some people get annoyed when some, cannabis, people that are passionate about cannabis say that it can heal everything.
Yes.
It's not a miracle drug and it doesn't heal everything, but it has so much to play with what you're talking about, right?
Give it a chance.
Everything, yes.
Give it a chance. It's got no known deaths. So,
as well,
a lot of pharmaceutical drugs, I'm not pointing names at the pharmaceutical industry. Thank you for all of the wise people out there that have created science and have done all of these wonderful things. I had spinal surgery. They cut me open, removed my discs, stitched me back up. Yeah. Hooray for modern science. Don't get me wrong, I'm not judging. There's a time and a place for everything. I don't like being persecuted for taking herbal medicines and herbal remedies, and the foods of my choice shouldn't be restricted by me, by my government, and that's why I'm standing up as an adult, as a tradesman, as a father.
So you've been in construction?
Yeah, I've been in construction.
Can you speak to what hemp can do and what possibilities there are?
Just so many resources. The cannabis plant can be used for straight wood, plywood, like we've got our hempcrete buildings made of only the hemp hurd and a lime mixed up, and it hardens over time. It's antimicrobial and antibacterial.
Yeah, I read the lime hardens over time.
The lime hardens, and sucks and just gets harder and harder and harder. There's a hemp house in Japan that's over 800 years old, yet the government still obviously need research and development in our country. So in 2016, I went down to Tauranga, Eastern Institute of Technology, to do East Coast Hemp Organization's Cannabis Building 101 course. So it was a day-long course. They'd imported some hemp from, I believe, Germany, because that was the place you get bales of hemp from.
You said day long.
Pardon?
Day long course.
A day-long course, yeah. So it was turn up in the morning, have a lunch, have a conversation, make some hempcrete bricks. So talking about the economics of it, the processing, how we're going to make an industry. And this was back in 2016.
What a cool thing to do.
Yeah. So I managed to take home 3 hemp bricks, because 2 of the people had actually flown in from the South Island, and so they didn't want to take their hemp bricks back with them. And I was like, my win, like, hemp blocks over here, and start a collection. Whoa! So and we actually mixed colours into them, so you can actually pour a little bit of coloured oxide into the mix as it's in the concrete mixer, and then you can actually trowel into the hemp multiple colours.
So do we have homes being built now?
We do.
You talk about this election and the economy and the housing crisis, and so has there much been happening with it?
And down on the South Island, we've had Ecart Homes. They've taken over the hemp building down there, and it's a big thing. It's a big thing.
If someone wants to build a home today, they have that as an option.
They do. They still have to kind of like finalise that with City Council, and that's what we're trying to normalise. So, like I was saying before, when we made the hemp block.
Like wood and not you need a special...
You still need an engineer's permit to say that the engineer signed off the architect's drawing, and then you still have to have it signed off by the City Council.
And that's not... And if you just... I don't know anything about construction.
So
if you're just doing a timber home, you don't need that?
No, because most of the timber homes, the design's already been designed, 600 studs, 400 for load bearing, this wide, and it's already been, standard. Yeah. So with the boys down in the South Island making the Nelson City Council more aware of the process, other city councils now have a reference book. Yeah. You can then say, ring the Nelson City Council, talk to Dave. I think he's done 15 of them. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to tell you that it's pretty common now. And so with that kind of building up momentum, even that's starting down in the South Island, because that's where they've had... they process most of our hemp seeds down in the South Island due to the infrastructure down there. We do all our grains and our seeds down in the South Island.
We've shown me bottles before.
I've got a collection of bottles. They're
produced here in New Zealand.
This one here is produced in New Zealand. This one here is produced in New Zealand. And I believe...
So this down in the South Island?
Down on the South Island, and I believe this one here is also... yes, this one is also...
Do you want to put it? You alright?
I'll grab one, yes, please.
So hemp seed is what people eat.
So this here is the hemp seed oil. So just as we have a virgin olive oil, we have just the same as this. So they take the seeds of the cannabis plant, they cold press them because you don't want to heat the cannabis plant. Otherwise you'll turn the THCA molecule to a THC molecule, and that would make it psychoactive. And so these are the beautiful little hemp seed hearts. They've even come to package them in little beautiful baggies there like that. And also now Greg's, all the way since 1861, finally got on board. I know
Greg's well. We often use them here. They're a family favourite actually.
And now, 1861, they've finally jumped on board and they're not promoting hemp seeds, but they are utilising the fact that people like myself who have been promoting hemp seeds, it's now a sales product. And it's the new hype. Look, it's new. Hemp seeds are the new rage. Everybody's getting into them. Yeah, it's the new. Except for, here's another product here made in New Zealand. So when this company started, they had to import theirs from Canada, some organic Canadian hemp. But now this hemp is proudly made. Thank you very much. Now we will enjoy a lovely beer, because beer is legal in this country.
It is.
So we will a pure blonde. Thank you, sir.
It is legal. Now, and you can walk into a supermarket
and buy it.
And buy it anywhere next to the kiddies buying their
but not in West Auckland. Now West Auckland, funny you say that, they don't have supermarkets with beer in them. So the West Auckland City Council decided that they would form the Waitakere Liquor Trust. Yeah. So they've done what we are trying to suggest is done, because let's say it, we're joking around, but beer and alcohol, it should be in the restricted section. It shouldn't be the common thing and have the children hear their parents say, "Shall we get that box? Oh, otherwise we won't be able to get the pasta." "Oh, well, the kids can go without the pasta." Can you imagine being a child and hearing that?
The worst.
Discussion amongst your parents, knowing and seeing your, not to put drinking, sorry, let me just put these away before I get too drunk.
We were talking about before, there's no shame in it
I'm
either.
not,
It's so
no,
accepted.
but
This
I'm
is
not putting their choices down. Like they can be them.
Yeah.
I have a few friends that drink alcohol. I have a few friends that might have been alcoholics. One of my friends was an alcoholic, and his doctor's actually quite happy that he uses cannabis as a substitute, because he was quite an aggressive alcoholic. And his doctor sees it a benefit that he's smoking medicinal cannabis instead of 17 more of these, and I'm ready to fight anyone.
Well, I went to the doctor the other day and I just had I don't know, I was feeling odd up here. Went and saw her and she asked me, do you smoke, do you drink? I'm like, yeah, I smoke quite a bit, drink, not much, only a couple nights or something. And she ended the conversation by saying, okay, well, you can keep smoking, but stop the drinking. And I said I smoke way more than I drank. But even then, she was still saying, yeah, it's a lot more harmful. I mean, she didn't say that, but that's what I read into it. I mean, why would you tell me to stop if it wasn't so? But yeah, it's so normalised.
Yes.
And that alcoholic behaviour, it's terrible.
And that's what the public are afraid of by unlocking the demon drug that is cannabis. They don't want to see us spilling out onto the streets all drugged up. And
I asked my nana what she thought of cannabis the other day. Nice. And she's 91 now. This was a year ago. And this was when the referendum was happening. Okay. And she said, it's violent and aggressive. Just straight off the bat. We talk like this to each other. And but when she said that, my heart melted. Because I just was like, oh, you've been fed bullshit your entire life. And she's so lovely. And then I had some with me and I got it out and I showed her and Nella was smoking. It was fine.
Smell this, Nana.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't like
Is this one actually strawberries?
I wish she'd like the smell. She didn't like the smell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I need to bring her some different strains.
Yes.
But I smoked a little bit. Chemivaz.
That's right, it's education.
It's what it's about. And I was trying to educate her. So I smoked next to her, outside, and not. And then I said, well, what do you think? And she just said, well, there's no different. And I said, I know. I'm just enjoying our conversation a little more. I'm just a little more relaxed. That's all it is.
I noticed that bird.
Yeah, the little sun hitting my face here just feels really nice.
Sun,
yeah.
That breeze.
But they don't know that. They think it's violent and aggressive. I know, and people are scared they're going to put it onto society. I don't know how to change that. And they also just think, I just saw it through movies and that. Okay. And the stoner character, it's always the stoner character, do you know what I mean? And he's always the lazy, just dumb one, he's slow, he's not, there's no CEOs doing, but there are in real life, but it's never portrayed. No. Yeah, it's always that one kind of...
So forever Hollywood has put us in hip-hop rap gang culture and, like you say, stoner culture, university, not getting my degree culture. Yeah. And it's just...
I met you at J-Day, we filmed you a little bit, but we didn't really talk. And it was really interesting seeing all the different diverse groups of people there, from young to old, to the different characters like yourself, dressed up and dancing, to us, just everybody. Yes. And that's, everybody uses cannabis.
Well, on that day, I was actually dressed as the cannabis police.
You were dressed in a couple of costumes.
I was Cannaman. I was in my business suit representing Aotearoa Legalise Cannabis Party, but the entirety of the day I was dressed as the Canna Cop. And so because it was an R18 event, anybody that looked younger than my 16-year-old daughter, or similar to the age of my 16-year-old daughter, I just made them aware that this was an R18 event, and without ID, they shouldn't really be here. And we don't want them causing trouble, because we're trying to allow them, when they're 18, to do what we're now doing in protest. And we don't want to be protesting and looking like we're encouraging children, because that's what it would look like when the media turned up and saw all of these children in the park. Right. So I was going around the entire park, introducing myself and making sure that everybody was sociable and happy, and any of them.
When they saw you.
Oh, of course. Well, here's the Canna Cop. Hey, but have you got drugs on you? Well, you should have. Ha ha ha.
And you have some good moves as well.
Thank you. Yeah, no. I've dabbled. But I was discussing with a couple that had their small children around, and I said, the people that are smoking in this park right now, it is cannabis. And yes, we know. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Just the Canna Cop thought a bit, oh no, we fully support cannabis, and that's fine. It's just like tobacco, and we're wide in the open. And I'm like, no, that's fine. Of course, I was just making you aware that cool. I didn't know who they were. I'm the Canna Cop, and I'm not busting them for being at our party and not smoking. I'm just educating them and telling them, be aware this is cannabis smoke, maybe you don't want your children, it's not the normal incense, this one might be a psychedelic incense. So, unless you want to pray to your God, light your incense and actually see your God.
Which you can do.
Yeah, which you can do. Yeah, and that's why we do encourage, or, we want to allow the spiritual advancements of cannabis use as well.
Just with J-Day for a second, that was our first time going. Did they get council permission? Is that like a...
Yes.
That's so weird, isn't it?
So that was the 30th J-Day. I've been to possibly 9 J-Days. Yeah. One of my earlier J-Days, I was actually in the Growers Ironman, and there's a photo of me proudly in the Normal magazine carrying a sack of soil. So we had to run around the property carrying soil and then buckets of water.
Is it in Albert Park they did that?
Yeah.
That's so fun. Why don't we do that next year?
Yeah, it was the Growers Ironman. And so, all of the men that wanted to enter the prize, and I think it was a 400-watt grow light setup from Switched On Gardener, which sadly got busted after 7 years of investigation. So back to the paranoia. 7-year investigation. Are you watching me? Imagine smoking enhancing chemical and you've got a little bit of paranoia and they're actually watching you for 7 years. It's like, that's...
So who was watching who for 7 years?
Well, allegedly the police department had Operation Lime running for 7 years, which was the Switched On Gardener bust, and they let it go on for 7 years before they took down the big guys.
Right.
Yeah, so the Switched On Gardener was before what's now Highlight. So Highlight Hydroponics is
beautiful. When I walked in that store,
is allegedly owned by Dome Australia, which is allegedly owned by gang members. So that's all allegedly.
Highlight.
Allegedly.
Okay.
So Dome Gardens in Australia, Dome Gardens in Australia are allegedly owned by gang members because we have gardening in gangs or drug cultivation in gangs go side by side. Yeah, so it's the same. Like we say, cannabis is the gateway drug. It's the gateway drug to the black market of drugs.
Totally.
If you can't get any cannabis off your guy, he might have ecstasy, he might have heroin, he might have opium, he might have MDMA, which is the same as ecstasy, he might have cocaine, he might have kratom, he might have ayahuasca, he might have combo. I don't know what your guys got, but there's all these other drugs that your drug dealer's got. Because he's in circles with other drug dealers, and that's just how drug dealing works.
And if you're a gang, how could you not get into cannabis? It's a plant you can grow. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to obviously do it if it's illegal. I mean, there's only one way to change that.
It's supply and demand. People want it, people pay for it.
Yeah.
And it seems like easy money when you're at the top. When you grow it, cultivate it, give it to a street kid to sell to other people for profit. If the street kid goes to jail, it's not on you. And the street kid gets rep and cred, and then he's out and he's back in his gang and he's like, thanks for taking that, mate, and here's your new motorbike, it's all good. 3 years for the boys, new motorbike. And you got the cred, got the nice jacket. And I like gangs. Personally, I like gangs.
Okay.
This is my kilt, this is my tartan. I don't know if you like gangs, but I like culture. I like people collectively dressing up the same in a little group, doing the same things. Like-minded people, they're enterprising. They're getting out there. For me, the dark side of gangs and what gangs is in history, it gets so, they say the word gangs.
Sure.
We could say clans, and that's where I come from, clans.
Yeah.
And a clansman is just a brother who's born in a village with other clansmen. They might not be family, but they're family in the same village, in the same protective hub. That's like all of the clansmen.
Yeah.
And so the gang members are just doing that. They don't trust the government, just like normal people don't trust the government.
Sure.
They don't trust them so much, and they say, I do what I want, you can't tell me what to do, so much that they've sadly got do unto others as you have done unto yourself mixed up. Yeah. Like nobody should inflict violence upon other people. Okay? This is where we've got crime, gangs, and violence mixed up with gang culture, supplying dance parties with ecstasy tablets and happy. Yeah, you're smiling because there is gang members in gangs that don't want to be violent gang members, but all for distributing drugs that seem to have done no harm other than dance parties and everybody's having a good time. Totally. And so for myself, it's a distribution of medicines or a distribution of a change of concept. And for them to be deemed criminals or gang members because they've all got association problems. Like I remember in my when I was a younger lad, my father pointed out to one of my friends and said, you know, he's a bad influence on you. Do you know what I said back to my dad?
What?
I know, Dad, but I'm a good influence on him, and that's what he needs.
Nice, that's a mature kid. How old were you when you said that?
I was in my 20s.
Okay, right.
You know, and I had already used cannabis, so my brain is already adapted.
So you've done the thing where there's people saying this.
I'm already empathetic to all of the people. And when I see a fellow human being suffering, I can only see myself in his situation, and therefore, if I can do something, I will do something.
Yeah.
So I acted as a friend who knew that he was going down the dark way, and I was like, if he comes back this way with my help, maybe he won't go all the way down the dark way.
Yeah.
And he didn't when he was with me.
Awesome.
Yeah. Then, you know, we separated, and sadly he
Life
went back
happens,
down.
isn't
Life
it?
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. His story is a different story. My
Sure.
path is, you know,
Yeah.
he was good for a while, and I proved to my dad that, you know, I wasn't trying to control my friends' lives. I was just trying to guide him into what I had as a religious upbringing.
Yeah. Oh, you had a religious upbringing?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, the Catholic,
Right.
the teacher of religious education, which wasn't religious education, it was just Catholic Bible studies. We didn't do the Tao, we didn't do Krishna's book, we didn't do the Muslims, we didn't do the Quran, we didn't do anything else. It wasn't religious studies,
No.
it was Bible studies.
It was a religion.
It was a religion, and we were studying a religion. And then the compromised science and religion in my brain, I was out of there. So I changed schools, and yeah.
Yeah, it's just so different to me. I was such a sheltered life compared to that. Yeah, just like my parents were just, I don't know, I wasn't brought up religious. They were totally fine for us to do anything as well. And my dad smoked my entire life.
Cigarettes?
For a portion, but cannabis.
Oh, okay.
But I never knew
Oh, right.
until I started smoking when I was about 30.
Oh, right.
And we've connected over it. Yeah, it's awesome. It's so cool. And it's, I guess I was naive. I guess when I was younger, I smelled it. I thought, and it's so funny now when I hop in our car, it smells like my dad's car when I was younger. And it's a memory. And it's like, yeah. And I was naive at the time.
Okay.
But it's been so cool. And meeting people like you and everyone in the cannabis community has been so fun and friendly and like such nice people is what I always come across. Always so nice. Yeah. Okay, so I was going to ask about the referendum as well. Like, if you had any thoughts, because you're getting involved in politics now. Did you have any thoughts on what happened with the referendum? Why it didn't pass? Did you think it was going to pass going into it?
I knew it should have passed.
Did you feel though? It's hard when you're surrounded by.
No, I felt the negative. I felt the people in my circles still weren't into the control bill, the wording of the control bill. So what we're trying to get is legalization or decriminalization at a bare minimum for a start. It shouldn't be you lose your right to visit other countries and your visa will be controlled now because you're a criminal. It should be like a driving conviction, a driving charge, a ticketable offence. At the very bare minimum, it should be a health issue where you can talk to people about your drug use without thinking that they're going to use it against you and send you to jail. Yeah. So that's the whole stigma that I'm trying to help. And part of why the referendum failed, my belief, is the controlling factor of the gangs. Once again, I like gangs, I like association, the right of association, freedom of association, freedom to wear what you want, wherever you want, as long as you're not causing nuisance. But they cause nuisance. They told a few of my friends who are still having to get drugs from gang members, you better not vote yes in the referendum.
The gangs don't.
The gangs are against legalization of cannabis because they like the money.
Obviously,
it's
right?
good. There's a good money there for them.
Oh, see, that bums me out. There's a part of me that thinks, oh no, but they want this plant to be for everyone, and they know it's amazing, and it's financial for them as well.
They don't want their shops shut.
Yeah, okay.
And they've got narrow minds on the control bill. They're criminals. They can do what they want anyway. Even if we opened up a legal market, if they want to choose to still be criminals, they can still choose to be criminals, and they'll still be the same.
With a lot, which they don't want to compete with. So
and so they're against that.
So there's a lot of that group that voted no.
Yes,
is what you're saying.
And a wider portion of their customers were encouraged to vote no.
Yeah.
And so that was a repercussion of what I believed would have been a fair amount of positives.
Yeah, that was a shame. But they were always going to have that view. There was no conversation or changing their
there was once again it comes back to education, and because of around the world how the control works, the legacy farmers get cut out of it. So the industry comes in and industry takes over. So we get the people like, let's not say any brand names, this manufacturer of this bottle that's already got a bottling shop, a printing shop. He can just straight get into cannabis bottles and he'll be manufacturing this cannabinoid medicine, water, cannabis water, terpene water, all in his big, I used to be an alcohol billionaire and now I'm a cannabis trillionaire.
Yeah.
And so the gang members are like, they've already got business and industry and this is our corner of the market. We don't want you to have our market. Which is a fair enough thing, but at the same time,
it is, yeah, it is, which is a shame. So for that reason, it didn't pass. I mean, there's still a lot of other people that voted no.
Yes.
You know, like still, I know we talk about how many people voted yes, but there's still half the country that voted no, which means half the people just don't get it at all.
That's right.
It seems like.
That's
like
right.
my nana, those people, that the message, and so the yes campaign, where
So after you smoked with your nana and you aggressively yelled at her,
Sure.
was she
Snapped
convinced?
around a little bit
Yeah,
and
was
told
she
me-
convinced that you should be allowed cannabis?
she still voted no.
Really?
But-
that is so sad.
It is so sad. It is so sad, but the fact that she sat there and she doesn't care, man. But she's still, but that's people. People seem like up until they're 18, they're sponges. They'll soak up information. And then they get to a certain age where they just close off. And they're like, no new stuff can come in here, right? And it's hard to be told you're wrong, you've been taught wrong information. 50% of the country is still like that. So, I mean, that's what you're campaigning for, right? To try to get through to those people.
Yes.
So how do you part of why I'm doing this is so I can be like, talk to people like you and get the message out, because I don't know what I can do.
Okay.
So what would your advice to be? People like you, people like me, to make change, or like, what can you do? Because you almost feel helpless sometimes, right? You go to J Day, you do a thing, and then like, now what? What can you do? Because it takes all of us to actively do stuff, right?
Yes.
So what advice would you have if anyone's out there listening?
Break out of your echo chamber. Don't be afraid to go up to people. Like I carry around a cannabis briefcase.
Cool.
And
Yeah, that's a cool briefcase.
and I show people. I'm like, I often have people ask me, as a cannabis advocate, I often have people ask me, do I have cannabis in my briefcase? I say, no, my briefcase is made of cannabis. And they're all like, what, bro, really? That's not bamboo? I'm like, no, it's not bamboo. Like, and please, you know that they can make bamboo products.
Yeah.
But no, this is a cannabis product. You might not be aware, but Mercedes-Benz have it in the panels of their sports cars because it's stronger and lighter.
Ford uses first car.
They're just not advertising it. Mercedes-Benz aren't giving Aotearoa Legalise Cannabis Party $100,000 annually because they support hemp industry.
No.
But they're using it. So that's where we've got industry not supporting advocacy in the industry that we're advocating for. So it's kind of like a losing battle when you look at our elders and our leaders in our culture who seem to selfishly be utilizing the fact that hemp and cannabis and all these now products are on the shop, yet none of them are standing up going, but we still haven't fixed like all of the problem around cannabis. We should be allowed this and this and this. Like
They're
I
more
said,
just interested in making money for themselves, I guess. They don't care about the plant.
seemingly, yeah.
Yeah,
Where I
which-
come from, it's the advocacy of plant because I want Mother Earth to exist after I'm here. So plant first, patience, and then people.
Yeah.
And then profit. And so as long as you've protected the first three, then you can start profiting.
So did you make a profit with your hemp farm that you've started, or?
No, my hemp
What
farm
have you
closed down in 2018 after they changed the law. So MPI made it legal for people to package hemp seeds, press it into hemp oil, sell it as hemp hearts, package it in plastic, but they made it illegal. So I got my license to have healthy hempy hens. I was going to cultivate cannabis, and then feed them my cannabis seeds
Beautiful.
that I grew sustainable. I grow cannabis because it's a weed. I collect all the seeds and I feed them to my chickens. I defoliate my plants. I feed them to my chickens and my goat and my sheep if they want some as well, but mainly just for the chickens.
Yeah.
So back to you are what you eat. You feed chickens omega-enriched food.
Sure.
They then produce omega-enriched eggs. So I couldn't sell cannabis to people at that stage, but I could cultivate hemp.
I mean, I hear that, and I'm like, there has to be a market for that. Like people
There
see that
is.
in the health food, like.
There is markets for it, but the government have control over it, and
Yeah.
we're yet to prove that it's a necessity. So that's why I'm here
That
helping
it's a
to
necessity.
the endocannabinoid deficiency that the humans in the world have. So Ethan Russo, an extraordinarily wiser man than myself, has made a claim that the humans of this planet have an endocannabinoid deficiency. So due to the legislation and the war on drugs, we haven't had as much cannabis in our system. And like I said before, 70 cannabinoids we produce ourselves, of 50 possibly, 50, 170, 70, 150, doesn't matter. What I'm saying is the cannabis plant can produce twice as many cannabinoids as we can ourselves.
Which are what? Because I hear that and I know...
What is a cannabinoid, you say?
I know. It's
It's a molecule, and these molecules are like keys.
Yeah.
And these keys float around your body, unlocking all of the padlocks that are locking, the pain receptor why your shoulder's sore. It's all short and gammy.
So we have some
You
receptors
smoke,
in our brains.
we've got a receptor that's gamming it up because of the pain, and you're in a bit of tension. There's certain cannabinoids that have anti-spasmodic and anti-inflammatory and the other one that's going to... Oh, hang on. Yeah, that one. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so just after inhalation of these cannabinoids, the keys have gone into my system and unlocked all the pathways that were forming this form of pain and tension and whatever that was.
So it helps people with pain?
It helps people. It frees them up.
And you don't even have to smoke it. You can apply a...
Balms and creams.
Yeah.
So we have balms and creams made by what we have, green fairies.
And how do you make that?
So a green fairy will take the cannabis plant that they've had to illegally cultivate at their own risk of persecution, and then they simply make it into a balm by either marinating it in a jar. So I'm a construction worker and I have extraordinarily rugged hands sometimes. Sure. Those knuckles get a little bit tight.
Videographer hands are pretty subtle.
So you know that feeling, yeah? No? So before the arthritis kicks in, before the old age kicks in and the pains get...
That seems smart.
It does.
So my dad's in the opposite position. He's got arthritis.
Okay.
Rheumatoid arthritis in his hands, and we've got some balms that we've got from Rose Renton.
Yes.
She's a very lovely lady, and it's helping him so much. Like he's still got some of the, it's not taking away all of it, but it's better than it's ever been, and he can move his fingers now, and it's just something you take for granted, your hands.
That's right.
And if you're someone, I don't have arthritis, but you can imagine, and then, so there's so many applications that it can have. Yes. It's not just smoking it or taking edibles or
So back to the balms. My mother, if I can oust her publicly as a balm user, please don't persecute my mum for her balm abuse. She's a non-smoker of cannabis medicines. She only smokes nicotine cigarettes, and to her own detriment.
Are you worried to say that though? If someone that was to get out,
no, I'd like to think. Okay, so the government have changed the law now. Any arrested person needs to be socially viable for the people to be prosecuting. So the government won't go around to my mum's house now. The police won't bust down my mum because she's got balms, because it's not to the public's best interest that they send my lovely elderly mum to jail or try to persecute her through the court of law. So the government have relaxed medicinal use of cannabis. And also recreational use to the extreme that me and you aren't like doing dodgy dealings. Like we're obviously allowed to now, do what we want in our own homes, like it has been in law many, many years before I got into reading law books. Okay. So what's happened with law is they've put more laws, when it should just come back to do unto others as you would have done unto yourself.
Right.
Yeah, each to their own, Take what each to their own needs, each to their own skills, is it? Take what you need, give what you can.
Right.
Yeah. You don't look at somebody that needs a wheelchair and go, oh, I wish I had a wheelchair. It's like, bro, that guy actually straight up needs a wheelchair. It's like, oh. So I was told by a soil microbiologist that as above, so below. So what happens inside the soil, there's 80% of the soil is just full of microbiology that doesn't do anything. And then there's 10% that are antagonists. And then there's 10% that are protagonists. And so the 10% are like protecting things and fixing stuff when stuff goes wrong. Okay. And then there's the other 10% going, hey, if they don't see us do this, we should be able to do this more. And then the comparison on the earth field, where I feel a lot of my friends that I talk to aren't willing to even explore consciousness or explore questions that I find myself going, imagine if after you die, you are born. Yeah. People think that that's like, why do you want to talk about that? And I'm like, because isn't that like way cooler or way like, doesn't it like use your brain a bit more than just like thinking about remembering the game score?
Yeah,
like
what you ate.
Talk about your dinner or
I find cannabis takes me to those places.
Yeah.
I get so introspective.
Yeah.
Think about myself and what I'm doing to other people. That's what I mean. It makes you a better person. It makes me a better person anyway.
Yeah.
It's such a connectedness I feel when I'm with people and you share a joint together and you have a laugh. It's just, and when you're by yourself and my mind just goes to other places. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So back to the bums. My mum, no, good. This is what happened. This is what happens with cannabis. It unlocks your ability to just converse outside of what we call the box.
Sure.
There isn't any box for us. Our minds are not restricted because the boundaries are limitless. When you consume cannabis and get total awareness or have the ability to think outside said box, anything in reality is a possibility, and then you get a small problem because you know the possibilities are limitless, and then you seem to have a controlling government that are restricting the limitlessness, and you're like, well, that doesn't seem, that's a peculiar system.
Yeah, if I was a needle leader of a government, I don't think I'd want my population almost to be smoking cannabis.
No, you would think
I would be worried where
not.
it might take them and what they might think.
There might be a revolution.
Yeah.
And so there hasn't been a revolution in America. They've just all accepted the fact that, you were allowed to smoke pot, so pot shops have just come up state after state after state after state.
Yeah.
They went medical, state after state after state. They've now gone recreational the same, state after state after state. Very soon they're going to go federally legal, and then every state can then choose if they want to continue with medical and recreational or...
And there's terrifying things that people would say would happen if cannabis was to become legal.
And none of it has happened.
No.
Yeah. We still have drug cartels from different influences, whether they're European drug cartels or...
Well, the American model is a model you'd like to see here because their model is different from other countries that have gone legal.
Their model's terrible. It's taxation. So unfortunately, they've put so much taxation into it that the cannabis medicine or recreational cannabis is put right back up at the black level market, and it's actually cheaper to get it from your black market dealer. So it's still enabled the black market to control a portion of that market. And not because their quality of their cannabis is up to the level as it should be when you bottle it and represent yourself under a brand. It's only because of the price value. And because some people pick quantity over quality. Yeah. And then it's a price. So
and a lot of these businesses are really struggling. That have started, the smaller businesses especially, because there's some big, behemoths that seem to, dominate the
not
whole
to say
market.
names, but the Starbucks of coffee shops.
Yeah.
There's baristas who want to make you a coffee. I've got relatives that are in the coffee drug dealing industry. They're good at their job. But I should be allowed to be good at my job. And my job is the distribution of fine, high-grade cannabises.
Yeah.
And I should be allowed to do that.
And not be taxed unfairly.
And not be taxed unfairly.
Yeah.
Like, we know there are problems from alcohol and cigarettes, and they are taxed because of this. With no one deaths from cannabis, I see it needs to be taxed, but only for the education for the doctors and the education of the children and the education of the elderly. And once the 5-year taxation of the re-education program of free education for anybody that wants to do 5 years worth of university, school, any tertiary degree, come and learn it. If it's how to manufacture cannabis wood, if it's how to cultivate cannabis, if it's how to extract medicines from the cannabis, it's all free, 5 years, all funded on the growers, all funded on the retail shop, and that money just for 5 years gets everybody the free opportunity to get re-educated.
You just went to Waikato University today,
Yes.
and they were speaking on
education.
but you weren't allowed to speak. I mean, what you're saying...
It seems to me and you, once again, the echo chamber, echo.
Are we?
It's a no-brainer. Isn't it logic? But sense. It seems easy to us because it just seems easy because it's our industry.
I do know what you mean though, because I sometimes think, what are the bad things about hemp and all these things? Because there has to be something, because it makes no sense. Am I in the echo chamber?
Cannabis is a known phyto remunerator. So it pulls toxins out of the earth. Okay,
So pulls toxins,
yeah,
heavy metal.
it pulls things out of the earth. So we all know about the clean, green New Zealand, right? And we've all heard about the situation about our riverways. Now imagine if the dairy industry actually get analytically tested hemp products that are grown in their rivers and streams that show the highest amounts of these toxins. Now, do you think the dairy board, I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm saying, do you think they want that if we get the chance to show these people a paper of proof of the actual levels, not only of the waterways, but of the soil level? Then if we go, if it's like this on the soil level where we're trying to fix up the streams, how far into the actual farmlands are these readings reading? And so my mind, due to my mind being slightly open and a little bit more historic into the guidance of our elders, through to historical books that are readily available in libraries, you just read how governments have looked after the citizens from country to country through generation and generation. It's an easy fool's bait to think that they have been looking after us when I can have my 13-year-old child explain to me, why is there health foods in a supermarket? What's the rest of the foods in a supermarket called if they've got one aisle called health foods? It's clearly obvious to a 13-year-old kid that the rest of it's obviously not health foods.
No.
And so why are they having this giant supermarket of foods if it doesn't deserve to be in the health food section? And then pin it back on me because I'm a drug dealer trying to spin nutrient values of hemp foods oil for health so that you can get protein enrichment and have a better life because you've got a nutritional, you're in the positive.
Do you ever feel like you're living like the upside down?
Yeah,
do you know Stranger Things? I feel you know Stranger Things, the program. So there's like.
I don't watch television.
Okay, so there's like our world, but there's like our world, and then there's the upside down, the dark, scary, crazy, just like haunted demons, and that. I feel like we're living in the upside because it should be the other way. Like it makes no sense. It feels like.
So when I applied for my hemp license, I applied to the Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
I was then, my business partner is a registered, my ex-business partner is a registered nurse, and we were also simultaneously looking into medicinal cannabis, so also through the Ministry of Health. And the Ministry of Health wrote us a lovely letter to say that we weren't allowed to use the therapeutical benefits of hemp without the correct licensing. And the licensing on a hemp license is $666 annual fee. The price on a cannabis medicinal license is $15,000, cultivation $15,000, distribution $15,000, manufacturing $15,000. You know, so it all adds up.
License.
Multiple licenses for multiple processing. If you want to cultivate it, that's good. Yes. Yeah. Year on year. Yeah. Also, then you have to meet a high standard in your establishment. Can't be Barry's basement. You can't just have your cannabis grown in Nana's back garden. It has to be in what we call a GMP certified if you're having smokable, consumable medicine products that will be regulated into other countries. It has to be cultivated in what's known as a GMP certified facility. Okay, so that puts the price bracket to only available to people that currently are already multi-millionaires or having the option to go to shareholders, crowdsourcing.
But then you've got guys like Skyman, which you went and saw.
Yes, I did.
So they're doing that on a smaller scale. Yeah. They don't have millions of dollars, right? They just do. So when I saw them and I heard him on another podcast, two friends just deciding over a table. Seems like a good idea. It's a good idea. Let's go.
Home brewing is a thing. You can't legally homebrew though and sell it for distribution.
No.
But they're going to homebrew cannabis and distribute it medicinally, hopefully when the government sorts it out around the world.
Yeah, so they have one license, right?
One license for cultivation.
Yeah. So they have to sell their product to.
I believe their license does have Appendix A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So I do think they have all of them on that one license. I think you have to pay individually for each appendix.
Okay.
So the right to cultivate, I believe, is one fee, I think, and then the right to cultivate and distribution, I believe.
So what do they do with their product? They give it to.
So to get your cannabis cultivations license, you need to have an intent to purchase order or a purchase order from an already known medicinal cannabis company that will buy your product. Currently, most of the companies here are just for R&D licensing. So we're researching the cannabinoid profiles, the terpene profiles, whether it can then be shipped over to Germany and last in Germany for 1, 2, or 3 years, depending on the storage.
So it stores them for that long?
Well, I'm not too sure. Once again, this is all intellectual property. So moving into, once again, I'm education, I'm free source, I'm open source. I'm into reading these books and sharing with you what I've read from them, back referencing to make sure that I wasn't fibbing or lying, double checking myself, because, I might be telling lies. I'm not deliberately telling lies.
And you can go online and get some,
there's
people...
so much information.
But there's also some misleading information at times as well. People can overstate things and
And so anything that I've said, back check it, look it up. Most of the important words are all factually true. I mean, these books come out, they're highly well written, extraordinarily large amounts of, there you go, Ethan Russo, the clinical endocannabinoid deficiency. There you go. Can this concept explain therapeutical benefits of cannabis in migraines, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, and other treatment resistance? And that was printed in on the 25th page in the 2004, chapter 31-39. So it's all in there. It's all factual. It's all scientifical.
If we discovered something else that could do what cannabis could do, it would be legal tomorrow.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But just because it's this plant, it doesn't...
It's already been demonized for far too long, and all of the elderly people above us and all the people that fail to protect us don't want to take the burden, like I was saying before, the chance of or the possibility of the repercussions. Like we were saying earlier, Thailand have not only legalized cannabis, they've given away cannabis plants and let their prisoners out. And so if you know anything about law in other countries, you can take your government and say, hey, I shouldn't have been in jail for 7 years for cannabis. You owe me 100 times 7. That's $1 million. You owe me $10 million.
They're not paying people that got...
Thailand didn't.
The prisoners that are getting out. They're
No.
not. I mean...
But in our country, I do believe you have the chance of discussing some form of payment if there has been some form of illful persecution. Right. And I feel that the government don't want 100 more years of legal battles of all these mobsters and gangsters and criminals and friends like my mate Dave. My mate Dave not a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Well, he is, but he's not a criminal.
But he is in the eyes of the law.
But now he is a criminal because he was a drug dealer. And so my mate Dave became a criminal because he was a drug dealer. Whereas some criminals are drug dealers. And my mate Dave was only a drug dealer and then only became a criminal because the government said what Dave was doing, distributing medicines that get you intoxicated, which is perfectly fine to do if you're in different distribution industries. And so the licensing scheme, back to the 5 years of heavily taxing the people that want to currently get into it, because they're already the millionaires. So they're already in a scheme where they've already got their bottling plants and a little bit of taxation at the start, they can take it. A lost leader, I think it's called in marketing and sales.
Well, there's a lot of people online, especially that really aren't happy with the current medicinal setup, and then a lot of they're not happy with a lot of these big grow. Yeah, it's not the world that they envisioned. But it seems like what we were talking about earlier is that they've got to fumble their way through this, all these laws and that. They'll eventually get to where it needs to be, but they just need to do it just so slowly. Like the people in power have no idea what they're doing. Yes. And it's so frustrating.
It's whether they don't want, once again, they don't want to be seen to do the wrong thing. Like I've got children. I don't want my children to smoke drugs until their brain has developed.
100%.
Scientists say 25 years old. So that's what I said. I looked my children in the eye, 25 years old. Now, they're going to do what they want to do. They're children.
No, you'd say please, but...
Yeah. No, I looked her in the face and said, look here, please. Yeah, 25.
I love you. I want you to have the... And then we can enjoy this plant together and have a great time.
And I explained to her what I explained at the Tauranga Boys College to them in 2003. 3 New Zealand representative junior rugby players were denied entry into Canada, which now has recreational adult use of cannabis. Yeah. They were denied entry just for a drink driving charge. And so I explained to my daughter, if you get a drug conviction, you won't be allowed overseas. They'll you can pay $5,000 for your ticket, you can fly over there, you see the guy in a little booth and he talks to you a little bit and he
Take
goes,
a selfie with him, maybe.
take a selfie with
Yeah.
him. Yeah, this is as close as I got to the foreign country. And then they realised I was a criminal in my country and then they sent me back.
Well, what do you think about the drug driving?
Oh, that's
policy?
ridiculous. That's okay. So impairment. So currently I'm a medicinal user. Currently I'm intoxicated in cannabis. So if I was to be driving or operating a heavy vehicle, heavy machinery or operating a motor vehicle, as you see, I'm not well articulated, I've had half a beer and I'm not a drinker. No, I'm just saying. So the level of impairment should be judged on if you're swerving. The level of impairment should be judged on if you're speeding erratically or driving erratically. And it should be a level of impairment of your ability to drive a motor vehicle, not your ability to have toxins or chemical compounds in your blood system or urine. That doesn't prove that. So I've lived in cannabis culture where I'm cannabis, I'm evil. That's like saying all people who have knives in their kitchen are murderers because potentially the knife could murder people.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
But even that analogy of cannabis doesn't make sense because you can't. Cannabis isn't going to kill you. I mean, like.
you're right, sorry, I said the wrong one.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Cannabis, yeah.
So if you're a medical patient, when this law comes out, what does the test? Do you know how the test is run? Like, if you,
I do not know how the
because you can have THC in your system for up to 30 days, or
Yes,
yeah.
if not longer. So
Yeah.
it depends on the metabolism rate of each individual
Exactly.
and what they've eaten, how much fat they got on their body.
But not whether you're
Intoxicated.
high or not.
Influenced by the chemical.
Yes.
So if you're intoxicated, then sure, you need to be not in control of a motor vehicle. But for me, their intoxicated is my medicated.
Do you know what they do in America with that law? If you can drive, if they drug test like that? I mean, I don't know.
I think they have these 52 states. So each individual state,
everyone's
depending, I think some of them have side-by-side breathalyzer tests. And then obviously take it back and do the blood tests back at the station. But I'm not too sure. Couldn't say.
Totally.
But it's all like they have, when was it? I believe one university has done the side-by-side road impairment breathalyzer test. But once again, it's not blood test, but it is side-by-side breath test. And I forget what state it is, but they have initiated last year the use of it in the police force. And
Okay,
so
it is, yeah.
and I think our government has also seen that model.
Modelling it on that, I think.
Seen that model and said, hey, we'll trial that here as well. I don't know if you know this, but New Zealand's the perfect trial for most new things. We're quite a nice, compact, diverse culture.
Okay.
So they like to give us text messaging first, FPOS cards first.
Just give FPOS, yeah.
Yeah. So text messaging capabilities on your cell phone. Beep 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 beep. It's like, oh,
a
try
new
that
one
out.
they're gonna do.
Yeah, this is another new one.
Brilliant.
And so we'll see. Hopefully.
So if we did, I mean, what I was reading maybe something Chris wrote the other day saying that, or might not have been him, sorry if I got that wrong, that like a referendum or something like this with cannabis will happen every 20 years. Because it'll take a couple years. Did you read that as well?
I did.
Yeah. What's your opinion on that? Do you see it taking that long?
Once again, that's his opinion. It's probably based on facts.
It seemed.
yeah.
When I thought it through, Labour might not get it next time. National, they're not going to do it. They've been for a couple. You know, you could map it out.
Yeah, so it's probably based on historical facts. It is his opinion, and like I was saying earlier, I'm not here to bag on alcohol industry. I'm not here to bag on tobacco industry. I'm not here to bag on other people bagging on our industry failing for the past 26 years.
Yeah.
Do we have another 26 years? I could, but it's nobody's. You can't point to one person.
No.
It's a failed situation that you're stepping up to the plate now. Welcome to the game. I've been in the game and now I'm stepping up to the plate as well in a different way.
Yeah.
I've been an advocate for cannabis medicines and out speaking to all of my associates. They all know that I'm Christopher the cannabis consumer, non-drinker. Oh yeah, no, he doesn't drink, he smokes cannabis. Look at him, he's fine. And it's like, oh yeah, you have some what he's got and you fall over and it's like, bro, that's some strong stuff. And it's like, it balances me and it's what I need to articulate and converse and socialise and
I mean, normally the
be
worst.
a functioning pothead, like I said before.
And the worst thing might happen, you might have a little much and then sit in the corner for a minute and you'll be right.
Fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that normally happens when you're getting cannabis off your friends
Sure.
and mixing your cannabis when you don't know what cannabis you've got.
And unfortunately, you've got no other way really, unless you can grow yourself, and not everyone can grow themselves.
And so that's why in Aotearoa Legalise Cannabis Party and for myself, we support homegrown and also exchange, right of exchange of anything.
So like a farmer's market you'd like to see type thing? Yeah. Yeah, that would be brilliant. We have farmers market for fruit and vegetables and everything else. So why wouldn't you want to encourage people to grow their own and, you know, distribute it amongst friends?
And so the confusion about the medicines bill and food being medicine or nutraceutically beneficial, and then is it a medicine or is it a nutraceutic? Is it a therapeutic? Is it let's put a label on it? It's an apple. It's like, it's an orange juice. It's healthy if it's vitamin C. It's like, it's medicine now. Yeah. It's like, hang on, what? So if it's just a cannabis flower, then it's just an orange. And then it's not until we've taken the trichomes off the cannabis flower and bottled it and packaged it, then it's a vitamin C, then it's a medicine. So we can just have the flower for consuming how we want because it's not yet processed into medicines and trichome medicines and bottled and packaged. Yeah. And no, we can't have oranges, we can't have grapefruits, we can't have apples, we can't have hemp flowers. And so for my brain, I'm confused as to why the control. Obviously, once again, it comes back to children not listening to their parents. It comes back to adults not listening to the government due to misguided information from your peers. So I've trained in martial arts, I've trained in construction, I have 2 trade qualifications, and I listen. I do what I'm told, but then I also ask, and I also understand the difference of walk away. And so if you don't know, you don't trust, you can understand, but then you feel, then you walk away because you know. And it's just that thing where I do cannabis medicines. It works for me. Don't make me a criminal. That's illogical. My brain hurts and it's your fault. I'm walking away now. And you can get stuck in it, and that's why most of the green closeted people just don't think about it. Don't activate on. I was speaking to my nana and I still couldn't convince her. It's like, don't put yourself through the struggle, bro. The struggle's real. Yeah. Like we were saying, the co-leader's over here. He's been in the struggle from the beginning, you know? I think 26 years of being the co-leader and the leader and the co-leader. And
I look at these people that have been doing it for this long, and I'm just
banging your head against the wall, just like, but we'll break the wall if we don't break our own skulls first. But we've lost 5 to broken skull damage. So keep going though. Woo! It's fun when you smoke when you do it. Yeah.
But there has to be something there, right?
I'm bleeding. Woo!
For someone to keep doing that,
because you know in your heart.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. There has to be something there. Like no one's going to do that.
They can't take away your truth. They can't take away your experiences. And when you've had these experiences and these truths, it's the honourable thing to speak your truths, especially if you're causing no harm, and especially if you're making awareness of a medicine that should be readily available, like apples and citrus. Totally. And grapefruit. My grandparents had grapefruit trees, and forever when I was staying over at my grandparents' house, it was grapefruits for breakfast. And it's not like we were allowed to go, I don't like grapefruits. We ate grapefruits. It was just what we were going to go. We were allowed sugar on it. Maybe that's why I'm so fast and speedy. I like sugar. But I was raised on an orchard. Yeah. So all of the trees in the back garden, I'd eat an apple, throw half of it, put it back into compost. Yeah. Apples and food was free for me. There was thousands of available foods at cost of $1 a piece these days in the current market. And I'm like, pretty sure I would have eaten thousands of dollars worth of apples in my day for free because they lived on a tree. And so for me, cannabis medicines or recreational cannabis or the flower that grows like a weed shouldn't have an economical price on it where your people are put into a situation where you're either buying food for your family or medicine as an adult for yourself, because that puts you in a compromised position in your own mind. Then you're judging yourself on, am I selfish? Do I deserve my own medicine or do my children deserve food? Then it's a simple argument again between your parents or your loved one, your partner. Can we do a home grow? Can we try to save on the dollars on the bill? Yeah. All I need is set amount of money. I'll set it up. We'll be paying the same for this, and we won't be paying for this. And within 2 months, we'll be in the green. We'll be going forward. And not that we want to become drug dealers, but it's certainly we're not gonna be arguing about food. And that's a good thing for our relationship and for our kids. Totally. To not have to go, oh, how come dad gets his beers or how come dad gets his ounce of weed and we don't even get like Edam cheese? How come we got budget cheese? Boo, dad, I don't like my dad. And then the dad's nobody should be put in that position. Yeah. And if you're allowed to cultivate your own tomatoes, everybody who's cultivated tomatoes knows you spend hundreds of dollars on soil and pots and tying it up and weeks and weeks of watering it and looking after it. And then you get like depending on how good you are, either hundreds of tomatoes or 74 tomatoes or 7. And then it's like, oh, all that effort. And I could have just got tomatoes when they're only $1 a kilogram. But when they're at $20 a kilogram, it's beneficial to grow your own tomatoes.
Exactly. I just read that someone saying that the tomato, what tomatoes are in America is like the perfect model for a cannabis market. You know, there's more tomatoes grown by the home grower. Yeah. In America, but you still got the commercial market. You still have you can have both together, functioning side by side. Yes, yeah.
Those that can grow should grow and will grow. Those that can't grow, they can learn. If they still can't, then they just go to a shop or go to their mate's house and go, bro. Like, if you're not able to discuss with your mates, like, oh, bro, like, you know, hook a brother up. Like, what's that? Why is the government not allowing brothers to hook brothers up? And
anyone knows if you want a happy.
Well, your nana now knows.
Yeah, well, she's a gardener though.
Ah, okay.
Right, so I'm like...
She knows that side of it as well?
Yeah, I've got more in common with you now than I did before if I grow, because now you love growing.
Look at this flower.
Yes, and what that does for your health and happiness and your soul. To be a gardener is only one that's a gardener knows that it's a beautiful thing gardening, and if you can grow your own vegetables and give that to your family and eat it yourself, it tastes better and it's just a better experience. So that's just giving you, you know, food for the soul, just doing it. Yes. And then you get the actual product at the end. I mean, it's a win-win. Yeah. Yeah.
And then to share your experiences or your harvest. In the harvest season, once you've got an abundance, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about sustainability and abundance. This product, those are the two things it's going to bring us. And it's like, once again, comes back to the no-brainer. Me and all my friends still banging our heads against the wall. And nobody listening, because they can see us banging our heads against the wall, and they're like, look at them stoners, why don't you just get on with your lives and not worry about it? And it's like, because the injustice is so blatantly obvious.
I feel like you can hit those people on whatever's important to them, and a lot of the time it will just be money and the economy. And I was just thinking, during COVID, when we had the referendum, a market doesn't exist at the moment, legally. There's no market, there's no tax. Let's create that out of nothing. Exactly. Let's create all these jobs. No, that's a bad idea, let's not do that.
I'm bringing 4 industries to the taxable economy of New Zealand, and they won't even let me talk at the Waikato University of Intellectual Conversations, and they were talking about teaching in Tauranga, the future of teaching in Tauranga, and they didn't want me to represent 25 years of education on cannabis, worldwide cannabis education.
You know, I'd love you to go back to that university and with, you know, whoever's in charge of that, just sit down and this is what I would have said, right? I'm not trying to sell you on anything. What do you think? Do you think that's beneficial for people to hear? Do you think that's a good idea as well?
I wasn't even allowed to take a photo of myself in the building just in case they got a bad representation of Christopher Coker was not allowed to speak at the Waikato University, head chancellor, whatever his name is, and the events manager, whatever her name is, denied entry to the 4th candidate who was willing to speak respectfully to all of the people at the university. And I was denied that. And this
is something I want to ask
you. It doesn't make me angry, it just gives me more strength to stand up and do my thing more.
100%.
But whether or not I'm going to get across to that one individual, and whether or not we're going to get videograph response of him saying that yes, he can't do this because it's not actually democratic, because it seems that way to me in reality in the world that I live in. I was denied the chance as a standing elect for the candidacy of Tauranga, the right to speak for a designated time. Beep! So that's me, I'm out. 2 months.
But not all people...
Sorry, interjection. I'm not as rude as... I don't know if you've ever watched parliamentary TV. I don't know if you've ever watched parliamentary TV.
They're wild.
They are rude. Like rude and wild. Order. They are rude. And that's why I feel, as a respectful tradesman, as a martial artist, I stand with a little bit more... I will listen. I will take in. I will attempt to understand, and then I'll give my feedback from my story. And my story has only ever been, it's an injustice against my peers and myself as a cannabis user, whether it's recreationally or medicinally. That should be nobody else's business other than me and my peers around me that either see me struggling or raising up. If I'm raising up, they should be like, bro, that cannabis scene you're in is like, wow, you're going good. But if I'm sad and depressed and consuming cannabis and thinking I'm not going anywhere and getting more recluse because I'm growing drugs and I'm paranoid because everyone thinks I'm a policeman, I need to have a conversation with somebody like yourself. Probably not with a camera, but, you know, having that open discussion with somebody, knowing that they're listening and knowing that they're going to respond and give you a response if that's what you need, or just listen if that's what you need. And that's what we've lost.
Well, it's really weird now how I feel with the police, since we grew, no longer growing, just so we all know. But they came round here and had the altercation with them, and I look at them differently now. Ooh. I feel differently to them, where I never felt like that before. I swear, I always just thought, police, hey, you know, like, protect us, good. But now I have I don't know even how to, you know, like a little bit of a fuck you kind of thing. Just a bit of a chip on my shoulder. And I still respect the police, what they do. They do a terribly difficult job, but it's changed. And that was only because they told me off for something that I really don't think I should have been told off for. And it wasn't a nice experience. Came into a home, upset, you know, Nancy, and it wasn't nice. And now I feel that animosity a little towards them. And we shouldn't have that. No. And one way not to have that is obviously to legalize it. Yeah, and it's a bad relationship between the citizens and the law enforcement. We don't need to be like that. No. And I think we are like that in a lot of ways because of the law. Like the most dangerous thing about cannabis in a lot of ways is that it's illegal.
Being caught with cannabis.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's the most dangerous thing about cannabis, is being caught with cannabis.
Exactly. So the election, we're speaking on a Tuesday. Okay. The election's on a Saturday. Yes. What plans do you have going up? Are you doing any campaigning or speaking, or not being invited again to other speaking engagements?
Yeah, as that sits, there's no more speaking engagements by any elected officials. I will, like you say, go back.
Well, babe, sorry.
I think that's my wife in the background. They're on
You're on the happy train.
They're on that happy train.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I wanted to grab the train then.
Back to the audio. Is my mic on?
Back on.
Okay. What was the question, sorry?
What
am I going to do in the next, from now until Saturday?
Yeah, so they had early votes already, but the actual
voting has started on the 4th.
Yeah.
Overseas voting started on the 1st. The people that I talk to and hand out my flyers, I don't know if you've seen this, but I have a lovely, this is called the marijuana matrix. You'll see that we've printed this lovely marijuana matrix.
Very nicely done.
Yeah, and there will have the users, how it works, how it's taxes, the advantages, and it's all a simple form of who's going to be using it and how we're going to generate the funds and what it's all used for. So that's our printed out document called the marijuana matrix.
Beautiful.
And then I've also got my own beautiful flyer. It's the first time I've printed my own flyer. So
looking very sharp.
Very dapper. That's the actual word that I get when I'm there. People on the street,
it's an appropriate word.
They say to me, "You look very important. You must be somebody." And I straight up tell them, I am somebody. I represent 1 million people in Aotearoa who still haven't got their rights to consume.
I'm a very important person right now.
Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, bro, you got my support." And I just hand them that flyer. They're like, "Oh, yeah, my name's on the back, you know. Give me a call. You want to discuss future job opportunities? I'm a cannabis consultant.
So you'll be handing out more, some of these?
So for the next 5 days, I will be out in the streets of Tauranga, CBD. I'll be at Mount Maunganui. I'll set up a gazebo in the beach, and I'll be offering out cannabis samples for people to try. So come on down.
Say hi and learn a bit about cannabis.
Learn a lot about cannabis, because like I said, I've got 25 years of knowledge stuck in this brain, and I wanted to get to Waikato University and discuss. I was recently at Auckland University of Engineering, dismantling a cannabis facility that they were doing R&D in that building.
Dismantling?
Yeah, unfortunately, they no longer wanted to research and develop at the facility.
What were they doing, do you know?
They were doing cannabinoid profiling and industry profiling, so there were people in the departments in the university. So it was the Auckland Institute of Technology. Sorry, I'll just reframe that. That wasn't the Auckland University. Auckland University of Technology. Yeah, that one. They no longer needed to have the cannabis license on the facility. They no longer wanted to research and develop cannabis, which I found peculiar, as I helped my friend, who is a long-standing member of the cannabis advocacy group. He was disheartened, and I just did the honourable thing of helping him pack down what he thought was him bringing this education and this new industry to us as a people, and to once again be stopped by what seems a middle management operation at some lecturers. I'm not pointing fingers. Someone higher to say no, and then not the person to want to risk losing their job when they question the person above them. So I can personally speak to myself, knowing that I stand up for myself and others around me, and have sadly lost my job several times for my opinions.
On cannabis?
Not only on cannabis, just on workers' rights,
Right,
whether or not I should have to wear my helmet inside this room. I notice you're wearing a sun hat.
Yeah.
It's not sunny, it's your choice.
I choose to.
He chooses to, yeah.
Looks good.
Looks good, boo. Yeah. No, oh, cannabis guy, whoa, know the guy. But yeah, you should have the right to either wear a helmet on your head or not. Mm-hmm. And I suffer from a neck injury from doing jiu-jitsu. So wearing a hard hat on my head is actually more detrimental to my health and safety.
Right.
Especially my health, because I've got a safety officer coming and telling me that I need to wear a restricting device that's putting more suffrage on my neck, causing more pain. So that causes me more pain and more health issues, because I know that I'm in a system where somebody that doesn't know me can allegedly, because it's written down on a bit of paper, tell me exactly what to do with my body.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly sick of that. So I've had so many years of construction being told, put your hard hat on, put your goggles on. Watching the industry in Australia, it's put your overalls on, put your goggles on, put your mask on, put your other mask on, put your earmuffs on, put your hard hat on, put your sunscreen on. And then it's time for work. And it's like, hang on, I can't move. Your hat, your vest, your clip, just in case you do working at heights. Might as well put you in a life jacket just in case. It's like, but you might as well wear it just in case. And they've done so many of these things for just over-regulating the things. Yeah, like we were saying, the cannabis market in America, over-regulating, over-controlling. They want to put tolerance levels. This alcohol, 80% less carbohydrates, that might be a good thing. It's got a mils number on it. I can't quite see how many percentages on it. Doesn't say that on the front.
I guess they've got to justify all these people that are working, just admin and government. They've got to.
But they want to put numbers. Right. But they want to put numbers on everything.
Yeah.
Like you can straight up buy 90 proof alcohol. You don't drink it, but you can buy it, and then you water it down, and you put your flavors in it, and you can make. They have spirits shops here in New Zealand. You can brew your own. So I've been in the industry for so long. I've even worked in a retail shop selling brewing and growing equipment. I would have brewers or growers or smokers come in and want to buy vape products and what we sell, vases for tobacco use only or vases for putting flowers in.
Beautiful vases.
Because they are beautiful vases that some glass blowers manufacture and we want to retail these, but unfortunately we can't retail them as smokable cannabis products, so they're only sold for tobacco smoking products and or vases, which is the legal, loopholes in laws. This is the thing about law.
Yeah.
The whole problem with law is that somebody writes it, and then somebody has a judgment on it, and somebody has an interpretation on it, somebody else has an interpretation on it, and then somebody has a judgment on it. It's not as simple as do unto others as you'd have done unto yourself.
And that gets messy, doesn't it?
It gets real messy. There's laws, acts, torts, regulations. There's a list of them.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to know them all. It is allegedly, ignorance of the law is no excuse, allegedly. And I'm like, hang on. Page 473, chapter 9, subsection 236. Can you please recite that to me? Oh, you can't either? Well, neither can I. So how is it?
Even if I can, you'll probably interpret a different way, which you're free to do.
Back to that. So it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Talk about it. And then I've witnessed a lot of my friends go through the court system. And no offense to the court system, we need to have some form of judging in court system, but judged by your peers. And by your peers, it's not 12 people outside of your circles that have got no idea about your culture that then peer in and go, oh no, that's definitely criminal activity. He's distributing drugs. It's like, hang on, let's ask Dave and Barry and Dan what this criminal dealing drugs is like. So, oh mate, he gave me tick once. I was on that tick for like 3 years. Bro, I paid it off. We're still mates, bro. But yeah, no, good fella. Same again. Ask him, oh yeah, how did he go? Oh yeah, his quality's good, his stuff's the right price, he's always turning up on time. It's like, okay, so what are we judging this guy on? Oh, he's a drug dealer. It's like, oh yeah, no, he's a good guy though. It's like, that's not what we're judging. We're judging, is he a criminal or not? He's clearly not a criminal because, like I said, good prices, holds a tick for ages, doesn't hold it against me, doesn't come and like extort my fingers with a knife and say, better pay up, bro. That's too long, bro. 2 years, no tick, too long. Knife, he's not out there harming people. He's not a gangster. He's just a drug dealer. Let him be a drug dealer.
Yeah, and just because it's legal, people are like, nah.
Yeah, and then if he wants to pay tax, let him pay tax if he wants to. If he doesn't, once again, a man's got a right to do with his own
bounty.
Yeah, and gift it or sell it, and it shouldn't theoretically be the government's eyes on every single transaction between human to human. I like doing things for my friends for free. I'm a construction worker. I've built $1 million houses. I've built multi-million-dollar high-rises and factories. And I'll still go around and build a mate's house and drink a bevy with him and expect him to give me no money.
Yeah.
I'm not going, oh, well, my invoice, and I'm going to need, and plus the tax on that, because the government wants my weekend work money as well. I'm like, bro, I'm just hanging around at your house, drinking a beer, building your deck or your fence or whatever I can help you with, because that's why I was raised to be a helpful citizen in my community, not somebody who's going to tell you you owe me $1,000, make sure you get that $1,000 to me for the work that I helped you out on, because you need to pay me that, and I'm going to be back around next month, and then my heavies are going to come around. Because I'm like, what? And if you don't pay me the tax on top of that, and send the heavies, then you go to jail. I'm like, what? Yeah, no, man, I just helped my mate build a deck. And now you're telling me I got to go to jail because I didn't pay you some of your share of me building a deck for my mate? I'm like, what share did you get? Like, I don't know what share you think you get from this, but there's no mob gang stuff, because I've watched movies and this sounds like that mob gang stuff that everybody talks about. Like, you know, we protect you and the family. You pay us, we look after you. You don't pay us, I don't like your options. It's like, whoa, hang on. So, yeah, I pay you money or I go to jail. I'm like, hang on, I'll pay you the money because I want to pay you money. I will donate my times and services as a community serviceman because I want to do community service, not because you'll give. I've seen my friends get community service. I've done so much cannabis advocacy work that I'm like on tick for community service. And I'm talking my community and the greater community as well, because as I talk to one individual and another individual and I give some, wow, my hands are actually feeling so much better since, I'd like not notice that they were tingly or painful or sore. They're just like, nice. They're just hands. They're on the ends of my arms and I don't notice that they're annoying. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, wow, my hands aren't annoying anymore. So that's brilliant. And so you do that for somebody and somebody else hears, and then all of a sudden somebody else hears, and then it's like, oh, so it's not like your Nana says. It makes people angry. Violent and aggressive are the words that your Nana used. And then she witnessed, and then she obviously saw you not get these things that she knows to be a fact in her mind. She ticked no for the referendum. Yeah. Still love her. Because in her mind, she still knows that people get violent and aggressive. Just you're the one that doesn't, because you're such a sweet boy.
Yeah, I should have walked to the voting booth maybe. No, I wouldn't have done that.
Sign it, Nana. Yeah. I'm sorry, I have to sign on behalf of her.
I know, there's so many people. So, good luck with the elections.
I don't need luck.
You don't need luck.
I've got cannabis.
You've got cannabis.
So, and cannabis is the truth. Cannabis is the answer.
Cannabis is the answer.
Yeah, and it is the truth for me and my experiences. And once, like I say, like your Nana experienced the cannabis doesn't make you wild and wicked, she's going to sleep on that. She doesn't have many more sleeps on that because she's already 92. That's a good thing and a bad thing. We laugh, but sadly the laws that are passed down by our elders, the key holders, I know this from martial arts. You never undermine your senior, okay? So in the martial arts, anybody, a senior ranking member, there's no disrespect to them.
What martial arts did you do?
I did Taekwondo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Awesome.
Yeah, so courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and indomitable spirit. And so I stand here with the perseverance to make sure that cannabis is finally legalized in Aotearoa, and I come with courtesy. So as we dispute this conversation, we're not arguing. Like I was saying before, in the parliamentary house of our leaders.
Have you seen them on TV? I remember watching it when I was younger going, what? This is like adults? And I never got over that. I always carried that on thinking,
It hurts.
It doesn't seem right. It's weird. Yeah. I was like, what? This doesn't make sense. And it's just like, no respect, no courtesy.
And even when the Speaker of the House stands up and tells everybody to be quiet in the back, wives, quiet in the back, they still don't listen. And it's like, but he's standing and he's got his little hammer and that's the end of the line. That's your dad belting you with his belt. But they don't care. They're like, oh, belt me with the belt. I'm like, fire him.
It's crazy, yelling shit out when people are talking and trying to no, but yelling it out and just go.
Did anybody hear that? And they don't. Yes, whatever he said, and they don't even listen.
But good luck in becoming one of them.
Yeah, well,
hopefully on Saturday.
I don't need luck. I've got cannabis. And sadly, unfortunately, the burden that I carry as cannabis, they don't want us in there because I'm coming with common sense, I'm coming with experience, I'm coming with some level of maturity that they've never seen in a cannabis advocate.
There's only really Chloe in there at the moment, right?
Chloe's doing try.
But the
She's
Greens
trying.
don't really talk about it as Greens, it doesn't seem. Like, I know she's their spokesperson on the subject.
So as soon as I got 18 years of age, I thought I was going to save the planet by voting Greens. I then watched politics happen in the Greens. I voted, most of the times when I was eligible to vote, I voted Greens. Then I saw how politics works and how you promise that you're going to do something. Like, I can't promise that I'm going to legalize cannabis. I'm just telling you that I promise that I'm going to go in there and dress as fine as I can, if not in this suit, my cannabis suit that's on delivery, and I will agitate for the advocacy of cannabis, respectfully, in their House of Lords and the House of Parliamentary people who are all supposed to be ministers and respectful humans.
But Chloe's doing that. She's in there. She's
agitating, yep,
and doing her bit.
But she needs more. She needs somebody else who's willing, with just a passion for cannabis, to come
also
in.
a party would get with her, and make it a.
My party are with me,
yes,
and if I was going to get in.
Cannabis party with you. So,
Yeah, and we don't have any other controlling, governing legislations for roading.
This is the one.
Like, we can get tax from the governments for the cannabis that we're going to cultivate alongside the GST taxes on the sellable distribution of cannabis, recreational and medicinal, over the shop counter, just like all of the other industries, and we will heal the nation and the experiences and the social normalities that is cannabis consumption.
Right on. Well, I'd vote for you, but I'm outside of the electric, unfortunately, which is really weird. It does a little weird thing on the map. I don't know why it does that. And providing you, or imagining you don't win an unelect on Saturday, what are you doing going forward? Are you?
Well, I'll still be a cannabis consultant. I'll still be
consultant. What do you do?
Well, I do education seminars just like this.
Yeah, cool.
Book me in for one if you want one.
Yeah.
If you want to read from any of my scriptures or have chats. And educational seminars, discussing with other cultivators, trying to form a unity or a cooperative amongst all of the lower echelon men who are just number 8 wire New Zealanders that want a piece of this pie, and they don't want the biggest piece of the pie, and they don't want to stop other people from eating pie. They just want more pies.
Pie for everyone.
Pies for everyone, and share the recipe.
That's what I want. That's what me starting this is, because I'm like, so I've started smoking a few years. How do I connect with this community? Yeah. And I'm like, I can video. So why don't I speak to people like you and try to form a community? Because I want to be involved, and hopefully the law will change soon. And so if it was to go recreational or was to legalize, would you want to get involved? Growing?
Yes. So I am a grower. Yeah. So I cultivate. I cultivate hemp.
Yep. Would you stick with hemp if it became THC?
At the moment, with the licensing side, yeah, I'd gladly stay with smokable, consumable hemp products. Like I said, there's so many cannabinoids available in the cannabis plant.
When you say hemp products, does that cover cannabis THC? Is that how you use the word?
Or not? So hemp products would be like your hat.
Yes, but not THC.
Not THC. So hemp.
That's from cannabis.
Yeah. So hemp is cannabis without the THC molecule.
Right.
So that comes back to the chemovars. So cannabis, there's 3 known variants of cannabis: sativa, indica, and ruderalis. Yeah. Sativa is the tall one. Yeah, it gets you high. The indica one, which is lower, it gets you stoned. Right. And then the ruderalis one is a variety that it flowers all by itself without the change of the light. So they call that the auto flower.
Because the regular one's called photoperiod.
Photoperiod. Because of the ruderalis, where it lived in the equator in Russia, I believe, it didn't need a 12-hour night cycle to flip over. Yeah. And so they've created hybrids from that, calling them autoflowers.
So you can grow both?
You can grow both. So all of the cultivars at the moment are all just hybrids. Yeah. And so some
are pure sativa, no pure indica.
No. And they've now found that they're all sativa, and the indicas are still just sativas, but they're just growing, and they've climatized. So it takes several cycles of the cannabis plant to climatize or adapt to its environment. So ever changing, just as we look similar to our parents, but morph that a little bit. We stretch a bit, we change our tan, we get more or less hair. It's all environment specific. And that's what the government are a little bit sad about, the controlling of a medicine that's environment uncontrollably, environmentally susceptible to change. Even after you've harvested it, if you harvest your cannabis plant on day 37 and then on day 39 it's a different type of cannabis plant due to the 170 cannabinoids all morphing into a different thing. So if you could imagine you've been prescribed fruits and you've gone and you've tried to go and get a banana, and you harvest your banana on day 37, but then if you harvest your banana on day 39, it's now kiwi fruit. And you're like, well, hang on, what just happened?
Yeah,
and that's
completely different.
Completely different, and that's the broad spectrum of cannabis knowledge that like most stoners aren't aware of. They're like, I want the one that gets me wasted and happy.
Yeah.
And sleepy. I want 3 different ones, man. I want a sleepy one, a wasted one, a happy one, okay? And that's it. Common people. But for myself, I want all of them. I literally want all 70,000 different chemovars available in jars. And
so much more people now are aware of terpenes
Yes.
and the flavonoid. So much more people that consume cannabis.
Yes.
They're more educated, right?
Yes,
Which
so
is
I've always said terpenes or cannabis is the aromatherapy for men. I don't know if any men out there have got women that like buy essential oils and have like a little diffuser. Yeah. So for me, unlike your nana not liking cannabis, for me,
she loves lavender though. She
there
loves
you go.
pinene and myrtle.
So lavender, I've consumed a cannabis chemovar called lavender because it was so high in linalool. It smelt like lavender.
Yeah.
It looked like weed. It looked like cannabis. It was cannabis, but you smell it, you close your eyes, you can only see a lavender bush. The terpenes it had been selectively bred for that chemovar to show its true lavender aromas, and
Well, what
it
Nancy
didn't
always-
necessarily taste the best, but it smelled just like lavender.
But it smells beautiful. And what Nancy always does, she gets the mandarin peel and cracks it, and she loves that smell.
Okay.
And I never thought of it before because I never knew what terpenes were.
Okay.
But it's the same thing, I imagine, right? Yeah, it's that same feeling you get. Yeah.
So lemonine.
Lemonade, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's variants of it. So cannabis has the amazing morphology of the chemovar to be able to either taste like a grapefruit, a mandarin, a citrus, a kumquat, an orange, and anything in between, or a banana.
I almost feel like the complexity of the plant works against it because it makes it, right? Like,
It's too hard to study. So
Yeah, or
doctors
too
who
hard
are
to
already
put it, yeah.
doctors who are already aware of being a doctor, and then we've got drug interaction. So if anybody knows about drug interaction, you feed one medication to somebody, it's for this, and then we need to give you something else because it's done something else, so we give you another one to that.
Yeah.
But then the drug interaction is now because we've given you this, and now we've given you that, and now this and that, and then this, and then we have to fix that again,
Yeah.
and then we fix that again, and now you can hear my voice, I'm a drug interaction, and then we throw another one in, and then they just keep throwing more in and more in. And so they're wary, very wary, and so they should be, the amount of compounds, cannabinoids and terpenes and flavonoids and other fatty acids and everything else that's in it. Like, you can't, like, for myself, I've never wanted to be a green goblin. So we were speaking about Rose Renton before. She's out and you're wearing a Green Fairies Healing Aotearoa shirt.
gave Rose one of these. She should be wearing it tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, so,
Rose.
yeah, Green Fairies, and then there's Green Goblins, who are taking...
Green goblins.
Yeah, they're taking advantage of the
Okay.
cannabis market.
Right.
They're saying this here is a CBD balm or a cannabis medicine, and you should take it. It looks green, kind of smells like your cannabis.
Yeah.
And so try to use it, and then you get it, you use it, and it doesn't work, and then it gives cannabis a bad name because I tried cannabis and it didn't work. And that's the same with the pharmaceutical cannabis as well. So they've given us cannabis. They gave us 1 to start with, and they've given us 3 more. Now we've got 7 or 12 or 9 and different products. Sativex was the first one. So that was made in Europe by GW Pharmaceutical, and that was Ethan Russo. So to manufacture Sativex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they've got 2 different chemovars, and they cultivate it in their lovely indoor greenhouse.
Yeah.
Then they take that chemovar and they whiz it around in a whizzer, and then they extract all the lovely juices. They put it in an alcohol, and then you spray it under your tongue, and it's a 1-to-1 THC CBD. So when they were announcing that cannabis medicines were here, they were still announcing that THC, the psychoactive drug, the psychoactive compound in cannabis drug, is bad. They didn't tell everybody that the Sativex that was imported and prescribed was a 1-to-1. They're like, and it was only the people who finally got around to getting Sativex spray on prescription medicine through their specialist at that stage, like I said, not just your doctor, at a price. It's all pharmaceutical grade drugs as well, not mum and pops, grow apples, have your 9-year-old child. Like, I'm not encouraging mum and pops to grow weed and have their 9-year-old child selling it. That's just a comparison that I was a drug dealer from a very large age, giving nutritional benefits to the people that would stop and buy our apples on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And I made some pocket money.
Sure.
I was banking. I was like wealthy because I had a part-time job from my parents who were in the apple orchard industry.
Yeah.
So I'm right place, right time. So life has got a lot to do with luck. You know, you're lucky to be where you are. You're lucky to have the opportunities or the, you know, having something come to you. And then you're lucky if it works out. Yeah? So it's all just luck. And I come here with experience. I've been lucky. I've been unlucky. I know my truth is my truth. I can see it globally as a truth. So I know it's more than just my own echo chamber and more than just our echo chamber. It goes worldwide. Yeah. And so I stand here with the encouragement that the indomitable spirit, knowing that my voice will be heard in the echo chamber. Chamber. Like I told to my 16-year-old daughter, you can type me into the Google machine and I'm in there, you know. Lots of people are. Yeah, lots of people are. And like I said before, I've got my own flyer. I'm like, it's a flyer. And it's got the things I believe on the back. You could kind of pretend it was a Bible, but it's not at all like a Bible. It's just a one single pamphlet and it's like quite easy to all like agree on. Yeah, unlike the Bible. But we're not bagging on the Bible. We're just trying to give people education about cannabis medicines that, like your 92-year-old Nana, have sadly been misinformed about for far too long.
Chip away at her.
Yeah.
I tried explaining terpenes and that was a bit of a loss, but we'll get there.
Okay, so back to my mum and the balms. We went sidetracked and didn't get back to that.
Yeah.
So my mum's husband got the cancer. He knew that I was a cannabis and I'd say, bro, cannabis, cancer, bro, fix you. He wasn't interested. He's the same like your Nana, like, cannabis is bad, I don't want to take cannabis, blah, blah, blah. He took the chemo, he did the drug therapy, he took the chemo, he got worse for wear, it spread, da-da-da-da. So in his final stages, my mum came to me and said, can we just get some, and I'll just put it in something and I'll just feed it to him. She wanted to spike his food and put cannabis medicines in his food. I said, Mum, that's not our culture. We don't like spike. Yeah, we don't spike our friends and like make them see dragons. Like we don't want them tripping out there seeing, oh, what's happening? Is this me dying? It's like, oh no, we gave you drugs. I said drugs are bad. Why'd you give me drugs? So I wanted to set her through. So I made her up a balm, and I said, well, just rub it on him. Just tell him it's this way it's not going to cause any psychoactive effects because the THC-A molecule hasn't been turned into a THC molecule. It's still going to activate his endocannabinoid system through, your skin is the largest organ in the human body. And she found that after she rubbed it on him, that her arthritis in her hands were feeling better. And she was going, with the cancer, I was like, well, and it helps me with my inflammation and it helps me with pain. Yeah. And she rang me up and said, I've been rubbing it in Alan and he's good, no names. And he's been feeling much better. But I've also been feeling much better. Yeah. And then she told a few of her friends, and then I literally got hit up in the street by some elderly lady that I didn't know, who saw me associating with my mum when we were talking, and she obviously recognised me, hit me up in the street like I was a drug dealer. Can you get me some of that balm you gave to your mum?
True story.
True story. This is a true story. And I said, I'm not actually a drug dealer. The balm that
She didn't say drug dealer, did you?
No, I said to her.
Yeah, but she didn't call you.
No, she just asked for the balm. She literally just said.
She probably doesn't even know what she's asking.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I said, didn't my mum not tell you that's a cannabis balm? Mm-hmm. I made that specially for her husband who's got the cancer. I'm an advocate and a Green Cross member, and it's an obligation and a moral duty for me to provide medicines for needy people. Sure. It's just my code, and whatever. Some people are like, bro, you're a criminal. That's what they said about the situation. I'm not a drug dealer. I don't ask people with cancer to give me $1,000 for drugs. Yeah. But if people say, can I get some drugs? I'll say, sweet. And it's not $1,000. You can just have the drugs because hopefully you feel better and don't die.
So did you give her a balm?
No, I did not. So back to the old lady that wanted to hook me up. I was like, I'm not a drug dealer. It's a cannabis balm. I'm a politician and I can't be seen to be giving anybody else the balms. I can give my mum the balm. She gave me life.
Yeah.
Like if the judge wants to give me life for me giving my mum who gave me life, cannabis farm, let's go down that story, and that'll be great for the papers. So I don't want to die on my sword, but I am willing to die on my sword.
But I can point you in the right direction, maybe you said, or I don't know. I mean, there's many green fairies out there, like Rose, that are providing these services to a lot of people.
So they've all got lists that are uncontrollably long and ever expanding. So it's word of mouth. Yes. There's more patients than there are fairies. Yeah. And that comes back to the green goblins, the opportunists.
And there are there.
There are green goblins out there. So we now have analytical testing, access to analytical testing. Currently doing cannabinoid profiling.
Can anybody just in?
Anybody can set out to the...
Do you know the name?
Hook me up. Hemstarchrist at Gmail. I'll back channel you that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's pathways now available to us through our circles of we ain't standing for it anymore, gone out and done our own thing and purchased the machines that the scientists and the universities and the government officials that do the laboratory testing on roadside drugs. So I don't know if you're aware that the government have to prove that the product that they've found on a stoner is actually cannabis. So they send that sample of cannabis away to a test, they run it through a machine at a very high price, and then they come back, yes, it's cannabis.
And not just cannabis, but THC, or could it be CBD?
No, they test for the THC molecule.
Right, of course.
But CBD is now a prescription medicine. So being a prescription medicine, it's now a controlled drug, so you also can't have hemp cigarettes. So over in other countries, they have what we'd call a hemp zero or a cannabis zero, similar to other alcohol companies making their beer brands. They have a zero alcohol in them, but it's still socially acceptable to drink a beer with your mate because you're the driver and you've got the zero, so it's all good. But it tastes like beer and I'm in the gang still.
So it's got zero THC or just THC, very little zero?
0.35.
Right,
so, and unfortunately, due to our conditions and the hemp being grown sensimilia, which means without seed, the cannabinoid profiles pick up more because hemp normally is cultivated with fiber and seed in mind and not necessarily consumable, smokable buds with high trichomes and high aromatics. And so the plant's putting all its energy into that, and then it sometimes spikes. So we as a party want to bring the policy number down from 0.35 to something more respectable like 1.
How did they come up with that 0.35? Is that just a random?
It's a random number that they came up with way time ago. There's like no need for it to be, it's not based on absolutely anything. Yeah.
God, so they come up with some crazy...
Like we said before, there's no actual number for you to die from cannabis consumption. So if there's no LD50, then it should just be like legal. But no. And so as we were saying before, not in this upside down. Upside
you
down.
You get it, right? The upside down.
I get
the
it.
Upside down.
Yeah. And like I paid for my license from the Ministry of Health, and I couldn't use the health benefits of the plant without paying for another license. What? Do you just want me to pay more money so I can pay and play? So it seems like a pay and play system. Where I come from, if I've got something and I see somebody in need and I can help them, I will give them whatever I can so I can help them.
We need more people like you.
We need more people like you.
So you're going to carry on. Good luck. You don't want good luck, but I'll say anyway, good luck on Saturday. And get out and vote, everybody. Here's the candidate you want to vote for. And cheers, bro. Cheers for coming over. It was a good chat. Come on, man.
Fire.
Sweet. Wow. Thanks, man.
Sweet as, bro. That was good.
Busting for a piss.
Oh, he's busting. Cut. Mic's still on. Busting for a piss.